Humanity. The story of humanity is that of irony, and nothing describes that irony better than the developmental history of humanity. It began when life first emerged on Earth. It began by evolution, the first of the three major processes of development, the most basic of them all. Evolution is random changes to the genome and the natural selection of those changes. Systematic selection of random information, a creative development process, but one that is plagued by its slow speed and wastefulness. To make even small development, evolution has to sacrifice generations after generations of its creations in a blind game of trial and error. It is also limited in its potential, as it can only develop things that can be created by small increments to previous creations. It is hard to say when the second developmental process began. It was developed by evolution, and that means it was developed slowly. But 500 million years ago, animals had developed nervous systems that could adapt to their environments. The idea behind them was very simple. The nervous systems had some basic principles by which they interpreted the new and therefore random information that they learned from their environments. For example, this behavior gives me food. I shall increase it. This thing hurts. I shall avoid it. The principles could be very simple, but they could also be very complex and sophisticated, going all the way from the simple reward and punishment of pleasure and pain to the principles behind the complex social structures we see many animals developing today. But most importantly, this development by basic principles was fast. It could develop new and working behaviors to its users in mere years, even days, in contrast to the millions of years evolution required. Now living things weren't restricted to the one-size-fits-all behaviors evolution had previously given them. They could specialize to the particularities of the environment they were born into. But this system was also limited, more limited than evolution was. It couldn't invent anything that its basic principles couldn't realize as useful. And as it was evolution that produced these principles, and because each species only got a small set of these principles that was very useful in the species' current environment, an amazingly limited set of things were possible to be developed by this new process. And the process was also almost as wasteful as evolution. It couldn't predict anything about the things its basic principles were not already aware of. So, trying something actually new was again a blind game of trial and error with grave consequences for those who lost. These were the only systems of development for the next few 100 million years. But then a new developmental system emerged. A system that would finally turn animals into what we would today recognize as humans. Systematic selection of random information by simulation. Finally, evolution had hit the jackpot. These new animals could predict what new and unknown ideas might cause by running simulations about them in their brains. They could use their current knowledge to see beforehand whether or not their new ideas were even worth a try and what kind of problems they might have. They could plan. This creative development process was as fast as the development by basic principles. New things could be created in mere years or even days, but it was more. It wasn't limited to any basic principles, nor to small increments in previous creations. Only the sky was the limit. But most importantly, it was not wasteful. It could plan and concentrate its efforts to those ideas that seemed most potential, and it could make precautions to minimize the risks trying new things potentially had. It no longer was blind. Finally, as the terrible risks of being creative were lifted off, new age of innovation and development began. Humanity triumphed. But not all was perfect. As the new development by simulation was so fast and limitless, evolution couldn't keep up the pace. Humanity triumphed even when their design only used this new system by the smallest amount. Most of their functions were still dictated by the old system, development by basic principles. This system controlled their emotions, needs and goals, even if it ran quickly out of its small potential. This is the human dilemma. To be the first species that has probably the best thing ever, but to be still mostly controlled by the old system without any potential. This is the dilemma of the consciousness. To be the new amazing thing and to be controlled by something that just fundamentally cannot compare to you in anything, the subconscious. Oh, the irony. Let's recap. 1. Humanity's developmental history can be divided into 3 developmental processes: evolution, development by basic principles, and development by simulation. 2. Evolution is the slowest and most wasteful of those 3 processes, and also limited to development that can be achieved by small increments to previous creations. 3. The development by basic principles has the smallest potential of the 3 processes and is also very wasteful. Its only real advantage to evolution is its speed. 4. The development by simulation is a ridiculously better system of development than the others. Only humans use much of its potential. It doesn't have any known limits. It is as fast as the development by basic principles, and it isn't almost at all wasteful. 5. The human dilemma is that the conscious part of the human mind uses this ridiculously good development by simulation, and that the subconscious part is still controlling most of the behavior, even if it uses the greatly inferior development by basic principles, which doesn't have any potential and doesn't really work in the modern environment. If you found this interesting, subscribe, share and like, and have a nice day.